What's up, guys? We have another game against Rusminsko, 1929. We have the white pieces. So we start off with 1d4. He replies 1d5. We go e3, going for our Stonewall structure. He goes c6. As usual, we bring the bishop out to d3. He develops his knight. Now, in order to protect this square, we go here. That way the knight can never jump in. He goes h6, which I like to see. Because in the Stonewall we want to go g4 anyway, and this is kind of a hook. I'm not sure what it does. It's a kind of a waste of a move, I think. So I go f4, getting ready for my Stonewall setup. He goes e6, makes a lot of sense. I bring my knight out and prepare castling. He goes bishop d6. Looking at this square, I castle. Everything's standard. He castles. Now it's time for me to put one of my knights in the center. So that's what I do. And he goes here. He probably should develop his minor pieces. I'm not sure what this does, but okay. So now in this position, because he's so passive, I should definitely just go g4 immediately, especially because I now have a hook. Just g4, g5. But I wasted a ton of time. In all my other videos for the Stonewall, you'll see that I play for g4 and I just launch it. This time, I wanted to try to use my pieces, which makes no sense because he played h6, so I should even more so use my pawns. But anyway, I decided to use my pieces. I ended up wasting a ton of time for no reason. So I do a rook lift. He develops a knight. I swing it over. Okay, still not really a threat. He brings his knight back to defend. I don't mind that. He's very passive, his whole position. Again, I could still go g4. I should still go g4, but I don't go g4. Instead, queen f3, which is fine. It would be the last preparatory move for me to push g4, but I didn't do it. He goes here, which again I think does nothing because, this isn't going anywhere. And now would be a great time to go g4. I have my pieces in as well. But instead, my brain, and you could see that I was kind of moving very quickly because we started with 15 minutes. I'm almost at 16 minutes, so I definitely should have stopped. I should have played g4. I was moving so quickly, I went here. This obviously has a threat connected to it, but it's dumb because as soon as he removes this one move threat, my queen's in the way of my pawn and I can't play g4. So that's what he does. He parries the threat, and now I want my queen back here or here to play g4. So I bring in another piece. Instead of admitting my mistake, I just bring in more pieces. Um, he retreats his knight. I thought it was to kick my knight, or that was what I thought he was doing. Um, what happened? Let's see. In this position, I saw there was no immediate attack, and to do anything, I will probably need a g4 in. So I just thought to develop my last pieces. So that's what I did. So he didn't play f6, he played f5, shutting down the diagonal. But now I felt like, yeah, okay, I don't have my bishop there anymore, but he's kind of cramped on the king side. I felt like I would just have better control over the center and the king side. And then maybe I could do that on the same thing on the queen side and just kind of control the whole board. Full map control. But I put my knight to the side to potentially throw a knight in here one day. But I still wanted to keep this knight here. Like, I don't want to give up this knight or move it. I still want a knight here. If I put something here, it would have to be this knight. Okay, so he takes the knight in the center now that my knight's no longer guarding it. That's another reason I shouldn't have moved it, because I would much rather take with the knight. In any case, normally I take with the f pawn because it opens up your rook. But in this case, taking with the f pawn allows his knight to go here, which is not fun for my rook. So I'm forced to take with the d pawn, which I didn't mind because it's super restricts his knight. And this knight can't go anywhere except for here. So I thought all of his pieces were super passive, that even if I don't have an attack, I'm kind of paralyzing him. So he goes a5, I guess. He sees there's nothing to do here. He has like no legal moves. So he gains space on the queen side. Um, let's see. So this kind of isn't doing anything anymore. I shouldn't leave this knight here. I should either bring it back and get it to this square, or just trade it off immediately and then maybe try to play g4 or something. What did I do? Yeah, I played c4. I was thinking that I was better on the king side and center. I can open up the queen side, which would give my bishop another avenue. Um, Still not a bad move. He swung his queen over, I'm guessing to cover these squares, but there's nothing for me to really do there. So I'm not sure what his queen's doing there. Um, Now I should definitely take, because an idea I missed for him is that, well, you'll see. Instead of taking, I said, you know what? He doesn't want to take. Let me get more space on the queen side and try to be better there as well. If he takes me, I'll develop my bishop since it's kind of stuck right now. If he doesn't take me, I can, well, win a pawn. So let's do that. Gaining more space. Um, and still discouraging him from taking me both times because it activates bishops. So let's see. He goes b6, defending the pawn that I was about to win. So I take the pawn. He has to take with the pawn, or he loses his rook. And now I have a weakness to attack. So in this position, I should definitely take here, because black has this move, pinning the pawn and causing me some, you know, annoyances. Also, when I take here and he recaptures back, I can put the knight where it belongs on d4. But I didn't do any of that. Instead, I moved my rook to the b file to just control some squares. But again, this move is pretty strong. He doesn't see it. Instead, he just develops his rook. Again, I should take this pawn because he still has his move. But I don't do that. I move my queen back because I see that there's nothing going on the king side. I can't break through without my pawns. I need to reshuffle these pieces back over to the queen side, which is open. And this creates a direct threat of winning a pawn. Right? Hold on. So, yeah, I went back with my queen. What else? I guess you can move. Oh yeah, one thing I completely missed is I need to move this knight back now, not move the queen, because there's the idea for black of g5 hitting the knight. If I take the pawn and he recaptures with the pawn hitting the knight, My knight has to go back, and then he wins a piece by pushing again. I totally missed that, off my radar completely. And I played queen e1, hitting the pawn. He could definitely play g5 here, and that would be bad for me. Luckily, he missed it, just like I missed it. And he defends his pawn. Like, he could have even pushed it, but he defends it with a rook. It looks so bad, but whatever. Again, I should probably evacuate my knight, because he could still do that. But I didn't see that. So instead, I attacked a pawn and infiltrated, preparing to... I don't know why I infiltrated so early. It doesn't even make sense. I don't have my rook ready to double yet. I should probably have fixed the situation immediately. But he doesn't see it. He goes and attacks my rook, which gives me the opportunity to swing my queen over. Um, he challenges me, but this gives me the opportunity to push my pawn and kind of cement this b6 square for myself. And kind of keep him cramped, and then slowly I can try to improve my position and win, just because it's more comfortable for me. He moves his king over, not sure what that's about, but always happy to see a random king move. So now I bring my rook back because I want to reposition it to the queen side. He takes my rook, and I capture with the pawn so that I get a tempo. Queen blockades it, but the queen's not really a good blockader. Unless you're going to win it immediately, which maybe he thinks he will with this. So it's my turn. And I try to bring the rook back. I guess any one of these squares would have worked. Maybe f1. Yeah, f1 probably makes a little more sense. But so anyway, I try to get my rook back over this way. He hits my pawn, and I can't really defend it because it's impossible. So this knight was defending this knight. So one thing I missed in this moment is now I have a perfect opportunity to play g4 because he can't take, because the knight would hang now that the other knight's not defending it. So now is a great time to go g4, and regardless, what he does, I can break through on this square, create a passed pawn, open up my pieces. That would be good for me. But instead, I do, like, if you miss this move, this is the next move that makes kind of sense. Opening up the rook, so that when something does take, you can swing the rook over and at least get some counterplay for the pawn. That's what I do. So now he's up a pawn. He moves the queen out of the way. Now I notice, now I notice this idea on this turn. So now I play g4. Better late than never, right? Still a really good move. I'm down a pawn, but I do like my prospects here. So he develops the knight and attacks my light squared bishop. I don't mind losing my light square bishop. I don't mind letting him waste all of his turns to do that. I take this pawn immediately. Right, I grab my pawn, I open up the G file towards his king. He takes my bishop. I'm forced to retake with the queen. Boom. Okay, so now there's tension here. He has to resolve it. He takes. That gives me a pass pawn here. I'm going to take back because now material's even. He's not up a pawn because I won this pawn. And so now this knight can look pretty strong on d6 as well as annoying towards the king. So maybe he should have taken it, but he didn't. He moved his queen from here to here, double attacking the knight, saying, okay, you're going to have to move your knight. And I say, okay, no problem, guy. Give me your pawn. And it looks kind of crazy because it is crazy. But I saw that um, if he takes my knight, I can swing my rook over, and he can either take my rook and I take back, so he would get a knight and a rook. I would get a queen and a pawn, and his king is open, which benefits me. Or if he takes the queen, I go here. He blocks with the knight, right? Sacking back the knight instead of the queen. I take the knight, so now I got a pawn, he got a knight, now I get a knight. So I'm up a pawn, and there's this tension as well as my rook and this alignment, and I thought that would be good for me too. Excuse me. So that's what I calculated. Um, I figured with 2 minutes on my clock, it's an interesting try, and that it couldn't be worse, regardless of what happened at the end. But instead, he took with his king, which I did not calculate because I did not expect it. Because now I get in a free rook g2. I guess you could do the exact same thing, sack your knight, but now your king just looks even more exposed. So I check him because, of course, he hides in the corner, and it kind of looks like, what do you do? Right? Like, do you go here? What are you really threatening? If he moves his bishop out of the way, there's no mate here, there's no mate here. The knight covers this square. You could win a pawn, I guess. Um, but then I went bishop b2, eyeing up the king. I said, this is my follow-up. And even if I didn't have a winning attack here, I'm up a pawn. I have a passed pawn. And my pieces are more active. So I would be better anyway, even if I wasn't completely winning. He can't move his king, and he can't stop this. He can only blockade it, but it comes anyway, whether he likes it or not. So he just completely blunders. I don't know how you missed this. Obviously, I just put my bishop here, but whatever. So I give him this check, winning the queen, but not winning the queen even because he has to sack the queen or sack the knight. I take the knight, he sacks the queen, check here, you know, check and mate or something, or it's mate. You don't just win the queen. Um, so that's that. We took a bunch of points from this guy, which was nice. I'd say the takeaways from this game. So in the Stonewall structure, h6 is great, great hook. Don't mess around. Go for g4. That's one thing. I could have played g4. Could have played it again. Could have played it again. Could have played it again. What else? This so far so good. This is play c4 here in this position. Just keep everything the way it is. What was the other idea? Oh yeah, I need to bring my knight back. Don't put your knight here because it gets trapped. I need to bring it back now. I need to bring it back again. Now I need to take because of this pin. Now I need to take. Now I need to take. I still need to retreat my knight. I still need to take and put my knight here. Because that's an idea. Knight on d4. You don't usually. I usually have it on e5, not d4. This was a waste of time. I need to bring my knight back in the game. Okay, this is fine. Here I have g4. I need to play g4. g4, okay. Alright, so a few ideas. I need to watch for the bishop a6, I need to not trap my knight, and I need to play g4. Simple enough. Okay, good game, nice win. Shut that guy down. You see throughout the whole game, I was always better until at the end when I was just crushing. That's a nice smooth game, I like it. Even though I made a ton of inaccuracies. Alright, we go on to the next one on the road to 2000.